It is Super Sunday, and there is, of course, two stellar games to preview. The first of which will be, of course, Delhi versus Lucknow. It's another North Indian derby, the first of its kind, and we have Nick Knight in the house to preview it. Don't go anywhere because you want to watch this space. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Avnish Hegde, and as usual, you've been tuning in to cricket.com quite a bit, but here's one more match preview. Well, let's welcome Nick Knight first and foremost, who's of course going to be leaving the shows today, but don't worry, he's going to be sticking with us throughout. Nick, first and foremost, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yes, I'm going to be, well, I won't be working on the IPL out here in India, but I should be watching it avidly back at home. So yes, I leave soon, yeah.
Yeah, knowing the cricket nerd that you are, you'll definitely be watching the toughest T20, and it's been a breathtaking tournament so far. Let's start with Delhi.
I love it. Cricket nerd. You're absolutely spot on. Cricket nerd.
In the politest sense, then, let's move on and ask you about Delhi first, because they huffed and puffed their way to get past the line against KKR, of course. Now, when you think about the business end of the tournament, how much will it be a moral booster, that win?
I think a big boost, actually. I think when you win tight games, not so much tight games, but when you win games that perhaps you kind of mess up a little bit in the middle and it's not as straightforward as it seems, and that would be the case with Delhi in their last game. And someone like Rodman Powell, who I thought played really well. I mean, he really sort of absorbed the pressure. They lost a few wickets in the middle. Umesh came in and knocked over, and then Salman Ryan followed it up. I think they lost 3 wickets quite quickly in that space. And that was a sort of danger time for them in some ways. And he absorbed that pressure, and he found a way of getting him over the line with an over or so to go. So when you look at a side develop over the course of 8, 9, 10 games now, you kind of want different players to make a significant role at different times. So I think that win will have given them a huge boost. You're absolutely right, even though they perhaps would have liked to win a little easier.
Okay, I mean, sometimes winning ugly is part of the scene, so Delhi did that exactly. It makes you think, in the grander scheme of things, Delhi haven't been blessed this year with injuries, COVID, unavailability. Have they played their best 11 yet, Nick?
I'm not sure they have, and for all the good reasons you mentioned, really. I mean, they have had problems with COVID, they've had problems with Mitch Marsh as well, of course, and he's come back into the side now. I kind of feel he's a really important member for them. I kind of feel they want him to bat at number 3. Be aggressive, follow up the work they do with Prithvi Shaw and David Warner. So I kind of feel he plays a pretty essential role for them. So welcoming him back is a massive boost for them. Generally, though, I'm pretty upbeat about Delhi. I've got good thoughts about them. I've got really high hopes for them because I see the tournament in almost 2 phases where you start with your best bowlers, your quick bowlers, your seam bowlers hitting the seam, getting lateral movement, grass on the pitches. Your 4, 5, 6, 7 playing crucial roles with the bat. And when you look at the top of the table, that's sort of playing out a little bit. The second half, I'm looking at spinners. How many spinners have you got on your side? And how dynamic is your top order? And when I look at Delhi, it sort of ticks both those boxes, doesn't it? Because you think of Axar, you think of Lalit, you think of Kuldeep, who's done well again. He's been terrific. And then you think of Prithvi Shaw, David Warner, Mitch Marsh now. And you think of that dynamic top order. And it kind of fits the bill for me. So I think they're a side to look out for. I really do. I think they're one team that might just have the resources to sort of play really well in the second phase of the tournament in the conditions that they may have in front of them.
Okay, and remember, Chetan Sakaria also kind of took his chance well, replacing Khalil Ahmed yesterday. So it makes you think about a lot of things with Delhi. Right, let's ask you about one man in Delhi who hasn't been doing the job, at least in terms of his price tag, because I'm talking about Shardul Thakur right now, and he's just picked up, I think, 1 wicket in the power play and has been off colour. How did Delhi tackle this problem? Because if they can get the best out of him, they become all more potent.
Well, absolutely right. I see it slightly differently, though. He's got to get the best out of himself. I mean, you can have any environment you like. You can have a situation where management are saying the right things to players. And don't get me wrong, that is really important because I think the environment that all players thrive in is that type of environment. But he's played enough cricket now. He's played cricket all around the world. He's a high-class cricketer. He's an international cricketer. He knows his game inside out. We have high expectations for these guys. We kind of think they're machines at times and they just press a button and you go out there and you play at your best every single game. Well, it doesn't work like that. And that's kind of where he is. And, I've always admired Shardul Thacker. I got to sort of watch him a couple of years ago on that Australian tour. I've always enjoyed watching him play. I think he's a bustly type cricketer. He's just not quite at his best at the moment. And he will find a way. The very best cricketers will find a way. So I'm not so sure I agree with how does the environment get the best out of Shardul Thacker? Shardul Thacker will find the best way of getting the best out of himself. And I'm not, that will happen. That will absolutely happen.
Okay, it's inevitable, says Nick Knight, and I don't kind of go against that because he's a really good player, especially in this format. Let's talk about Lucknow then, because on the whole, what you've seen of them, do you think that they have the resources to qualify for the playoffs? Because it makes you think, yes, but it also makes you have your own doubts. Which boat are you on?
Well, again, I go back to what I said earlier. The sides I'm looking at are the sides who I think might play well in the conditions that they may face in the second half and we're into the second half of the group stages now. And when you look at Lucknow, I still say you look at their number 3 Manish. He's not quite. He's struggling still. He's got a score and a half or so. So you kind of feel that they're hoping that he can really kick on. Then you look at Bishnoi and you're thinking you really need him to kick on. And then you're looking at their resources. Do they have a huge amount of spin options? Not really. They've got a couple there that they could turn to. Look, they're in 4th place at the moment and they play some pretty good cricket, but I don't think they've played their A+ game. And when I call it A+ game, I'm sort of referring to a complete game. And KL Rahul has been absolutely magnificent at the top, and a couple of hundreds against Mumbai, and he's hauled them over the line, and rightly so. So you're looking at, have they got that sort of team cohesion at the moment, completeness of performance? That's the one area that I would still look at. Avesh, of course, I think he's back now playing. He's had a little niggle. Let's hope that doesn't play out for too long, because that's absolutely crucial for them. They really do need him to perform well if they've got a chance of staying in the top 4.
Remember, Mark Wood also has missed out. So imagine Wood in this team. They would probably really be in where GT are, but that's just me second guessing.
But your point's a good one about Woody, because I think he would then probably more so come into the second half of the tournament, because you've got someone who can use the drier surfaces that demand more pace into the surface, more pace off the ball with the quicker bowlers. That really is where he would come in for me. Perhaps even more so on the wickets that we've seen earlier. So you're absolutely right to mention him.
Now, it makes you think about their backroom staff. They have some real street-wise cricketers, and of course, Gautam Gambhir calling the shots, being tactical there. They have Andy Flower. What kind of team are they? Because we look at modern T20 teams and they're either data-driven, they either run by instinct, or they have clear role definition for their players. Which avenue does LSG fit into, Nick?
I honestly don't know the answer to that, because I think you have to be sort of backroom staff and you have to be sort of hands-on and listening to the team meetings and listening to the way that they run the show, so to speak. But I do have quite strong views about how that should be done. I think that it needs to be a mixture of all of it. I mean, clearly here in the Tata IPL, you've got huge amount of analytics. I mean, oh my word, sort of you feel like there's sort of, paper, iPads with so much information on that. That's where you've got to be a bit careful, because it's great to have all these matchups. It's great to have all this information implanted into the system. But I think that's where the really shrewd captains come to the fore, and the shrewd coaches, because there has to be an element, for me anyway, in flexibility in all of this. I don't think you can just go out there and say, right, we've got to bowl him against him. We've got to do this in over number 5. And when it ticks over to over number 8, the analytics say we've got to do this. The game is a little bit more fluid than that. And I think the best captains are the ones who just identify, do you know what? The matchup tells me this, but my gut feeling right now with the way the game's playing out is plan B. And I think that's where it's great to be armed with all this information, but the really shrewd operators can find a way to use the information at the right time, not necessarily when it's being told all the time. And I think that is a big difference. I think it's a really big difference there.
Okay. Good points mentioned by you there. Let's see if you can get your predictions right in this one, because you've been well off compared to the other experts, Nick. So just pulling your foot there. But look, DC
I'm not surprised for
that. Delhi or Lucknow then? Who's going to be?
I mean, I've got to go Delhi, really, because of all that I've been saying in the preamble to where we've got to now. I just feel they're a side on the up. I just feel they're a side going in the right direction. And I just feel it's going to be a tight game because, don't get me wrong, Lucknow are playing some terrific cricket. And if Rahul continues his form and Quinton gets going at the top, they're going to be a tough side to beat. So if you're asking my prediction, I'm going to go with Delhi.
Okay, Delhi Capitals. Maybe it's a Sunday afternoon that is to remember, because the 2 points will put them to 10 points and then they can really start looking upwards and onwards. That's all we have in this match preview with Nick Knight. But don't, of course, miss out the second one, and don't, of course, forget to tune in on Sunday night where we'll have Nick post-match as well. That's all we have. Thanks for watching. It's a goodbye from me, Avnish Hegde, and Nick Knight, of course.